what is the guy version for Baddies?
They don't have that. It's black.
City boys in tech.
They don't have that.
City boys in tech or
I think
something.
maybe black men in tech might be the closest.
Black
thing.
men in tech, yeah.
Besides
And
that,
they actually are big supporters.
Gentlemen, man. We gentlemen, so.
Gentlemen in tech.
Gentlemen in tech.
Yeah, we're not doing that.
whichever one, it doesn't matter. But
No. Hey, Hackerproof family, and welcome back. It's season 2. Thank you guys for joining us once again. We're so happy to have you guys. We have so many great new things in store for you this 2025. We have our newsletter coming out. It should be out by the time this airs. If not, it'll be live on Monday. We also have great collaborations. We have tech mixers coming up all around the country. So
and shout out to 2 of our new hires, Kyrie and Kelly. Kelly is writing our newsletter, and Kyrie
shout out,
helping us grow and everything involved in that. So Kyrie, Kelly, shout out to you guys. You guys are doing an amazing job. The website and the newsletter. Look in the bio once this comes out to watch it.
Yep. So the team is growing, and there's so many great things in the pipeline, and we can't wait to share with you guys. But without further ado, we do have a special guest in the building today, the head baddie in charge, all the way from New York, the founder of Baddies in Tech. All the way. Let's give it up for Allie. Guys, her resume is long, so I wanted to shout out everything, but I think I'll give the floor to you to tell the viewers all about you.
She's also a tech recruiter, right?
She's also a tech recruiter. Yep. See, there's so much.
Was a tech recruiter, now full-time founder.
Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah. She has a lot under her belt, you guys. And so, Allie, could you please tell the users who you are, what you're doing, your journey?
Yeah.
Give us a little scoop.
Absolutely. So, like you said, I'm Allie Joy. I hail all the way from New York. I currently live in New York City and Brooklyn. And yeah, I'm a full-time founder. So I run the largest community for women of color in the tech industry in the United States and probably the world. And it's called Baddies in Tech. And our entire purpose is to help women of color start and scale successful careers in technology. And we do that by making sure that they have access to educational resources, technical upskilling, networking opportunities, and then also job opportunities from really large tech organizations. Some of our partners are AWS, Yahoo, Boeing.
That's big.
Really big tech companies that support, women of color and their career growth. So
shout out to AWS, Yahoo, and Boeing, by the way. That's big.
Those are all great things you're doing in the field, by the way. But just going into being a founder, how did that come about? It's not easy to start a big organization like you have started, and also something that is helping women in general is also great. So how did that even get started with you?
Yeah, I think that I've always been a very entrepreneurial spirited person, and I think I get that from my mom. I'm from Ghana, so shout
out to Ghana.
All of us in this room are Ghana babes. So I think that I've just watched my mom take risks my whole life, and that's allowed me to be a risk positive person, and I've always just had really good ideas, and so. When the idea for Baddies in Tech came about, I, had started my tech career in 2018, and I was working in business development at an AI health tech startup, and I didn't have a tech background. I had just graduated with a biology degree, and so finding myself at that startup, I was the youngest person there. I was the only Black person.
It's always like that.
I was the only Black woman. And so it was dang, this is an interesting environment. And I didn't have that support, that mentorship that I needed. And so Baddies in Tech came one day. I used to travel for work, and the client, which are medical doctors, he was like, how did you get this job? You're doing so well. You're so young. I was 21 at the time or something. And I was feeling myself because he was like complimenting my professional vibes. And then also, actually my 22nd birthday. So I was like also feeling myself as a baddie.
You
so
know what I mean? Yeah.
So I took a selfie and I like, it just popped in my head like hashtag baddies in tech. And I clicked the hashtag and I saw no one had ever used it before. And I was like, wow, this
Go
is
ahead
like,
and
this is cool.
Yes.
Like I was like, this really describes me as like both a woman and as a professional. I feel like it should be a thing. And I thought like it could be a way for me to build my network and find other women who were, you know, in similar space. And so, yeah, like kind of started working on it just like as a passion project. And a few months later, like launched it as an Instagram like community.
That's how it usually starts.
Yeah.
That's how we started. You know?
Yeah. And then it just took off from there. Like other women were like, you know, what is baddies in tech?
Like, I want to be a part of
that. I'm a baddie. I'm in tech, or I want to be a baddie in tech, and that's how it just kind of started growing organically.
So,
Okay. So you talk about like, you know, taking risk, right? So you quit your job to start, you know, Baddies in tech, right? How was that for you though? Like,
how was
you know,
that process?
making that transition.
Yeah. So and then a few months into starting Baddies in Tech, I actually quit, and it wasn't because I was like, oh, I'm going to do Baddies in Tech full time, but I wanted to pursue entrepreneurship full time. Nice. So I found a program actually back in Ghana. It was like a tech entrepreneurship program. It's called MEST actually. Yes. So it's like the Meltwater Entrepreneurial School of Technology. And the whole premise of it was like they brought 50 entrepreneurs from all over Africa every year into Accra, and we all like lived together. We like went to like school, and like the school was like literally like entrepreneurial school, like tech entrepreneurship school. And then like we built products together. So the whole premise was like find African problems, form teams, build solutions, and pitch. And so it was like a crash course in like startup development. And yeah, I wanted to be a startup entrepreneur. So I applied for that program and I got in, and I was the only person that came from America. For that program. Everyone else was like
based from Africa.
Like Nigeria, Kenya, South Africa, but I think they made an exception because I was born in Ghana. So and that was an interesting time to be alive.
Still talk about the struggle, because anything about startup is a struggle, because you have to make sure you have someone who's supporting in your business. So you talked about you being a business developer, right? Business developer?
Yeah, business development.
How was that? How was managing those two jobs, being a business developer in your 9 to 5 and being a startup founder of Baddies in Tech from your 5 to whenever?
Well, so by then, like I said, I started Baddies in Tech in March of 2019, and by June I had quit and like moved to Ghana. So then I was like kind of building startups in Ghana. I was like doing Baddies in Tech and just kind of like using Baddies in Tech as a platform to show what I was doing in Ghana as well. And so, but then when I ended that program and I went back to work, I started working as a tech recruiter in 2021 at another health tech startup based in New York. So then I was building Baddies in Tech and working 9 to 5, and that was an interesting time for sure. I mean, I think it takes a lot out of you, and I think that it comes to a point where, you know, sometimes it starts clashing, right? Like the job starts saying, you know, you're spending too much time on your entrepreneurial thing, or like there's like conflicts of interest. I think especially with my role, my full-time role was a DEI tech recruiter, and then I was like also kind of doing like DEI and like helping people get jobs through Baddies in Tech, and so there was conflicts of interest there, and it came to a point where I had to pick one or the other.
I'm glad you took a chance on yourself.
I think
absolutely.
Always bet on yourself.
Because like I feel like a lot of people are scared to take that risks. So when do you feel like it's the right time to actually like, you know, quit your 9 to 5 job and be like, okay, I want to go into this fully, like put all my effort in there?
I feel like you have to be seeing some type of monetary value.
Exactly.
Yeah, because if not, taking that kind of risk is, you have bills. You can't just can't drop what you're doing and just say, but as your question and answer, I'm sorry.
I think that's one point. You have to be generating revenue, and you have to also have a roadmap of how I'm going to generate more revenue. And I think, you know, it depends. Are you going to be bootstrapping, or are you going to be raising VC funding? Because I think maybe at a certain point, if you're going the VC route, maybe you are in like a fundraising phase, and maybe that's when you think through kind of quitting your job. so I think like, just making sure that you have a financial plan in place. You know, I think a lot of founders kind of take the risk, but also have a lot of sacrifice behind it.
Yeah.
Right. Like you have to reduce your expenses. You can't be dramatically, right? Like sometimes you can't be doing all the things that you used to do. A lot of people move back home with their parents to cut off like that large expense of, you know, housing. So I think it, you know, when you believe in the thing that you're building, a lot of the times it comes with sacrifice in order to make that step.
That is true.
But I think for me, it was really like a nagging feeling of like, I'm not happy here anymore. And like, I really want to focus on my thing.
Usually mostly when the conversation come about you, like you're having conversation with your management and they're saying you're doing this for your own personal self and you're doing this at work, you have to pick one. That almost makes you a little bit depressed. Like,
exactly. There's like this depressing.
Like I'm here trying to work for you guys as children. I'm working, doing my job, and you guys are telling me to pick between my own personal project.
It
doesn't. I don't like that at all.
So sometimes it becomes a conflict, and you just have to make your choice.
Yeah, you talked about VC funding and getting rounds of funding, and my brother also actually has a startup, and he's been going around the globe like in search of VCs to invest in his project to help globally, essentially. And just hearing the stories of the ups and downs, like you getting promises of this money, but then it ends up going like this, and you're trying so hard to get someone to invest in you. Were you able to overcome that challenge initially, or like did they have like when did you finally start to see investments into your companies? What I want to ask.
Yeah, so most of our investments are through sponsorships. So we haven't raised VC funding, and we don't plan to.
Okay.
But I think it's similar. There's some similarities, right?
Okay.
Like, you know, with raising sponsorship and with VCs, you have to. Certain companies have certain goals, and they have like, I guess, like the types of companies that they want to work with, right? Like certain VCs, for example, will want to work with companies that are focused on AI. Certain VCs will want to work on with companies that are focused on future of work. Like they have like so I think it's really important to do research to kind of figure out your target VC. Okay. And then like for sponsorship, similarly, like you have to kind of do research to figure out who in the company cares about the thing that you're doing in order to get money from that person. Like I've, you know, talked to people at AWS where it's like, you know, they're like, we don't have any money for you. And then I found the right person at AWS, and they're like, we have money for you. See? And they've consistently invested in us.
That's amazing.
Year over year.
So you just have to find the right.
You have to find the right person that cares about, and it's the same thing with VC. You have to talk to the right investor that cares about the thing that you're building.
Exactly.
And convince them that it's, you know, it's worth it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a seller's market. You have to be able to sell yourself.
Yeah, you have to be able to sell yourself. Storytelling is very big. And I think that, you know, for us, I think also proof of concept. For us, it definitely has taken, you know, us doing certain things and having the data behind it and having the success stories. And I think now it's becoming easier and easier to get the funding that we need.
So is it a transactional, I mean, of course it's a transactional relationship, or is it just angel investing? Like they just want to help women of color. They just want to invest in those type of orgs, or are they looking for you to provide them with X, Y, and Z for them to invest in?
You might not be able to go into full details when we go into some contractual.
Just for anyone
it's a little bit of both in general. Like, I mean, most of the time how we approach kind of sponsorship, like fundraising, is we have an offer, right? Like we have this community, you want to get either employer brand visibility or you are looking to hire. So the hiring piece of things is like very valuable to tech companies because they're looking for talent at all times. And then between 2020 and 2023 to 2024, a lot of it was like DEI focused talent, diversity, and women of color and people of color in general. And so if you have a niche community that has, you know, the talent there and they're of diverse backgrounds, it's very valuable and it's very lucrative for companies to get in front of them.
You think going into 2025 with the new DI and federal workforce, is this still going to be a thing being pushed?
It's a big question mark right now.
Okay, fair enough though. It's very early, but there are companies that still stand behind.
No, but on the federal level, I think it's something that is going away.
Yeah, on the federal level, yes. There's an organization called USDS in the federal government. That's like, it's the United States Digital Services, and it's all about like upskilling underrepresented people and like underserved communities in like digital skills. And like immediately, like there's a White House report that they've like renamed that organization, like reformed the entire it doesn't exist. And I have friends that like work in that organization, and that organization actually like invested in BaddieCon last year, and we're going to invest more this year, and so that's like gone now. So for sure, like from a federal level, it's changing.
It's going to trickle down too, because anything that comes from the federal level, companies see it down.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think like private companies, like they're taking their stances. We're seeing certain companies like McDonald's. We've seen even like Amazon, even
Ben and Jerry's is one.
There's so many Walmart that have like done away with their DEI initiatives. And then there's some companies that are like, no, like go like fuck yourself.
That's true.
Like we're gonna keep going. Like Costco has done it.
That's what I meant to say. Ben and Jerry's for those that support DEI.
Yeah, Ben and Jerry's. There's a few other ones, and for us, like I think what we're seeing with our sponsors, investors, is that a lot of them it's evolving, right? We're kind of changing the name where it's like not DEI, but it's like community and inclusion, it's community and culture. So
rebrand.
It's rebranding it a little bit. Before affirmative action was the word and it was like a great thing, and now affirmative action is a bad word, and so we don't call it that anymore, right? And so I don't think it's going away completely. I think people are going to be more careful with their spend and how they how they distribute the dollars and what they invest in, and then again, it's going to evolve into more of a culture and inclusion thing. And so it just really, for organizations like Baddies in Tech, it's how you position yourself and the value that you say you're bringing.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Another thing for the next question, just want to give a shout out to our newsletters coming out Monday. So you guys should look forward to it. It's going to be on the bio. Please click on it. We need every support. Subscribe and everything. This is how we're going to grow ourselves, because we need to grow too. So if you guys want to help us grow, support us, please look at the bio and support our newsletter.
There's so much helpful content in there.
I wanted to ask something. So since you started Baddies in Tech, right, what's been your biggest collaboration? Because I talk about like AWS, Boeing, all that stuff. So what's been your biggest?
Biggest collaboration.
It could be an event also. I know you guys
it could be an event,
whatever you guys.
I mean, BaddieCon is like our biggest event. So that's our annual conference, and we've done that.
Guys invited?
Yeah.
That's how I was like, we're not Baddies though, but
y'all gotta be there.
What is the guy version for Baddies?
They don't have that. It's black.
City Boys in Tech.
They don't have that.
Boys in Tech or
I think
something.
maybe Black Men in Tech might be the closest.
Black Men in Tech, and they actually are big supporters.
Gentlemen, man, we gentlemen, so.
Gentlemen in Tech.
Gentlemen in Tech.
Yeah, we're not doing that.
Whichever one, doesn't matter. But
no, Black Men in Tech, they're super cool. Like love Cam, we collaborate. Cam, we collaborate a lot with them. So they're kind of like our brother organization. So we love them. But so BaddieCon is our biggest event of the year, and so we have I think last year we had over 11 sponsors, like big names that like supported that.
I'm guessing you guys have a brain kit for them, right? To bring to them before they get.
So we have like our deck and we pitch it and all of that stuff. I think a big collaboration last year was so Craig Newmark, he's the founder of Craigslist, was actually an investor in our conference last year. And he's like basically the father of like internet websites. You know what I mean? And so the location for BaddieCon last year was in the Craig Newmark Auditorium in Manhattan. And so he endowed that space and then like learned about Baddies in Tech, and he was like, I love what you guys do. And like was a big investor in the conference last year.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Because he invests in like a lot of like cybersecurity initiatives. Free speech, like he's like very concerned with like things like that. So privacy,
it's funny connecting with us though.
No. So honestly, like need to connect.
This guy's a.
Now playing that. Go ahead, please.
No, girl, like need to connect y'all with Craig because Craig is mad cool. Yeah.
Amazing. But BaddieCon, I was looking at the content from it. You had I don't want to butcher her last name, Stephanie Ike.
Yeah,
is that how you
Stephanie Ike Okafor. She's a pastor actually. She's
she's big in the Christian community.
Yeah.
She's somebody that a lot of women look up to. And when I saw her there, I was very, very impressed because that is a powerhouse, and to have her in the room speaks volumes.
Thank you.
We'll come to Baddies in Tech BaddieCon this year and come do our own interview.
100%. Y'all should pull up. We'll talk about it. But yeah, I definitely want y'all there. Yeah, no, Amazing. Stephanie Ike coming, that was like a dream come true for me because she's like my hero. Like watch her all the time, and I pray like I think Baddies in Tech and BaddieCon has definitely been like a faith it till you make it type of thing. Like when I did the first BaddieCon, it was that's like everything in life. How did this even happen? Because we did not have the money to like host a conference like that, and it just was like definitely like steps of faith. And so when I did the second BaddieCon, I was praying through it, and for some reason like God was just like, you should have Stephanie come. And I was like, okay, this is weird, like a tech conference with a pastor as like a keynote speaker is very, very different.
I know the women were happy. I know the girlies were happy.
And I reached out and she responded. I was like, wow,
look at God.
And I just knew, because I know, like, I watch her a lot, and she's like, everywhere I go, like every conference I speak at, she prays about it, and she asked God if she should be there. And so she was like, she'll get back to me. And so I knew she was praying about it. So I was praying to God. I was like, God, I know she's talking to you. Talk to her on my behalf.
I love that.
And so then, like, I didn't hear from her for a while, and then eventually she was like, like, I'm gonna come.
Bless God.
And she did our opening keynote, and it was like a prayer. It was beautiful. It was everything.
When you walk, God will run.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it just turned into Baddies and Tech.
A sermon.
I know.
But amazing
that's big, man.
With
that's
Baddies
big.
and Tech.
Thank you.
I guess the sky's the limit. So, what advice would you have for someone who's trying to be a founder, who's just starting up as a founder, and is trying to build something for himself? What advice would you give that person?
Yeah, I think the first thing is to not just jump in. I think you need to do user research. It's so important that you are solving an actual problem for an actual group of people, and that group of people is large enough, and that group of people has money to pay, because otherwise your venture is going to fail. So really important to start with user research. It doesn't cost a lot of money to do. And so, doing surveys, doing focus groups, talking to the potential users and asking them unbiased questions about what their problems are, and not having, an app idea in mind when you go to them, right? Rather,
having like a study group.
Rather having like a problem in mind and not necessarily the solution in mind, and letting the users inform what the solution is going to be, I think is the biggest thing. I think also, when you're bootstrapping and your early stage, like it's important to not try to do everything yourself. Rely on your strengths, but find a co-founder that doesn't have, your same strengths to complement you, or, hire contractors. I have done a lot of trial and error, and I found that Upwork works really well for me. Fiverr. But like I find it works well because can pay them for exactly what you want, and you can pay them fair prices, and you get it done, and it's done. So I find that works really well. And then the last thing is just being ready to pivot at any time.
Change ideas.
Yeah, change ideas. Like, you know, you came up with an idea, it's not working. Maybe the market shifted, maybe new political climate, new president, new policies, or like user sentiments change. And so, you know, again, continuing that user research, it's not something you just do at the beginning. It's something that you do throughout. Continuous learning, and then being able to apply that to, you know, your business or your product.
And I know we almost ran out of time. We like to leave the guests, maybe ask any question about ourselves, because we're also starting up. We're also a startup. So is there anything you would like to ask us about our own self before we wrap this up?
I had another question after that question. Maybe I should, okay. I wanted to, you answer that first, and I'll ask the last question.
No, you can ask. I'll think about what I want to ask you guys.
I was just going to say, like, what do you see in the future for Baddies in Tech? I mean, you've done the conference, you've done the big guests, you've done the helping us, like, you've invested so much into women of color already. And so, I mean, it's like the sky's the limit, but, like, where do you see Baddies in Tech in the next 2-3 years from now?
Absolutely. I want it to become, like, this HQ one-stop shop for women of color who want to either start or grow their careers in tech. I think the biggest thing is the network. We have such an amazing network. So many incredible women, from, you know, executives, from entry level to executives. And so our big thing is, how do we make sure that these women are connecting with each other? So we're starting our Sister Circles program, which is like a small group mentorship cohort, peer mentorship cohort. So we're going to be matching our community based on their career interests, let's say cybersecurity, but across levels. So someone might be a CISO, in the same group as someone who is, you know, mid-level GRC analyst, in the same group as someone who's just breaking into cybersecurity, so that there's this intergenerational networking mentorship. You know, you're mentoring up, down, and across.
That's a great idea.
Like, honestly, like, the CISO can learn something from someone who's under them, like how to be a better leader. So super excited, because I think, again, the biggest value of Baddies in Tech is the network itself. And so, just very excited to make it easy for them to maximize and lean on each other, because we've talked to our users, and what they're looking for is to be able to connect with like-minded individuals. And it really goes back to why I started Baddies in Tech in the first place. And so, that's what we're excited for.
That's great.
But going back to that last question, then we know the time is going.
So I mean, where do you guys see Hackerproof going?
The sky's the limit, to be honest, because we started this as an idea. You know, why not get a whole bunch of black people who are in tech, doing different things in tech, to network, to talk, to speak about their experience. So, you know, bringing you on the show speaks of that, bringing someone who has experience, business development, not only that, but a founder in tech. So the knowledge that you're sharing is going to help someone else who's maybe looking to get their foot in the door, or maybe start something from themselves. So this is a good idea for us to do something good for ourselves, make something big, events, podcasts, courses, everything. We are trying to just grow, because I think black people are really underrepresented in this country.
Absolutely.
And when you can find your circle, you can find people that you can collaborate with, network with, and build something with. Why not? And then your own people. So that's what we're all about. And we're just gonna keep growing.
And like, you know, one thing we're trying to go into is we want to start, like, you know, consulting as well. So like helping people, like, you know, build a secure website, build secure, like, you know, applications. You know, take their startups and stuff like that, make it secure and stuff like that. So we started to look into, like, government contracts too as well. We have someone.
Don't speak too much about it.
Yeah, I know that, of course. Yeah, but it's just something like, you know, in the works.
The pipeline.
In the works. Nice.
And to wrap it up, Vicky, let them know they should subscribe, all that stuff.
Guys, you already know the deal. Thank you guys for joining us once again. Thank you, Allie, for coming all the way down to Houston, Texas.
Thank you so much for having me. I had a great time with you.
Yes. Oh, wait, sorry, all the way from New York to Houston, Texas, to be with us. And it really does mean a lot. And I'm sure a lot of women, even men too, watching you today are going to be so happy and inspired by your story and your journey. So thank you for sharing it. And guys, like, comment, subscribe if you want to hear more stories like this. Newsletter coming up.
Subscribe.
Newsletter. So, thank you guys once again. And season 2, here we come.
Peace.